started doing marketing for travel brands, Airbnbs, hotels, museums, etc., etc. How can I scale this even further? And then I'm like, okay, let's go to tech, because tech have...
Another question I'm sure a lot of the tech startup folks that are watching this right now is saying, how do I measure success?
The most important metric for me is...
Omri Hurwitz is the CEO of Omri Hurwitz Media, the leading tech PR agency working with over 300 startups and high-growth companies worldwide. Omri is redefining modern PR through guaranteed media coverage and content amplification on LinkedIn and X.
Larry Ellison is the founder of Oracle. He's actually richer than Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, I feel like I would be bored talking to him, to be honest.
Okay.
Larry Ellison is a cool guy. He's like someone I would like to talk to. And what I would ask him is, how did he manage to build...
Hey everyone out there, my name is Alan, CEO of FreeCashflow.io, and welcome to Profit Powerhouse, the podcast where we sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs to cover the secret behind their success. We're here to learn what drives their growth, the challenges they overcome, and how they master their finances. Our goal, to help you achieve the same success while maximizing your profit. Let's dive in. Today's guest is a powerhouse in the global media landscape. At just 29 years old, he's already built an empire that spans continents. He's the founder of OHM, the largest media firm in Europe and Asia, and is now making serious waves across the US market. But he doesn't just stop there. He's also a sharp investor with stakes in startups, public companies, and owns majority equity in over 15 media outlets. A true visionary and force of innovation in the media world. Please welcome the unstoppable Omri Hurwitz. Omri, thank you for joining the show.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, can you just share a little bit more about your background for those who are not familiar with you and what inspired you to start your business?
Sounds really good. So I started out as a writer. I used to write for magazines. I would date women, and I would write I would write stories about the dates, and I would sell them to magazines, and that's how I started in media. Funny enough, I actually got an audience of 40, 50-year-old women who would wait for each one of my articles, my dating stories, to come out. I had that kind of a fan base. I think it was kind of like, it wasn't erotic or anything, but maybe, it was an alternative to 50 Shades of Grey or what have you. And that's basically...
Yeah, truly 50 Shades of Grey, right? In that case.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's how I started. And then I was enjoying the writing process so much, and kind of like being creative with it, and writing, from the heart, so to speak. But I wanted to be rich, I wanted to make money, and I knew I had so many skills. Like, I was super confident I had so many skills, because this is Alan, this is pretty interesting. So I would be very excited on promoting those stories as much as writing them. So I knew that there's something about the promotion aspect that is really, something that I'm interested in. And then I took that same skill set and built a marketing agency. And then I started with the marketing, and I started doing marketing for travel brands, Airbnbs, hotels, museums, etc., etc. And then I was like, okay, this is great. I have this skill set, and things are I have this idea of how to do marketing outside of the box. How can I scale this even further? And then I'm like, okay, let's go to tech, because tech have much bigger budgets. Startups, enterprises, even a small seed level startup has a bigger budget than some of those travel firms. So I found it really interesting, and then I started to do it in tech. And when I was in tech, I also wrote for Forbes and Finance, etc. And at that time, I started getting lots of PR people reaching out to me, because they wanted me to cover their clients. And I would tell them, because I was very ambitious, I would tell them, okay, I'll cover your client, but what do I get? Like, would you share my article on social media? Like, how would you promote it? And they were like, yes, Omri, we're going to promote it significantly, all over our social media accounts, etc. And they did that, but they didn't get any likes or comments on their posts. And I was like, you don't have any leverage. You guys are PR people. Shouldn't you be like media operators? And they're like, no, we're more like brokers. We like real estate brokers. We broke between the client and you, the media, right? And I was like, that is pretty dumb. So the next thing I did was to build a modern PR firm that actually helps reporters. So, Alan, if you're a client and I get you featured on Business Insider, I'm going to make sure to drive lots of traffic to that Business Insider article and make sure to amplify it, right? So there's lots of data and analytics that play a part in that. And yeah, that's basically how that started, and the PR firm, it became the largest PR firm in Israel, and then the largest PR firm in Asia, and then the largest one in Europe. And during that time, we started buying those assets, media outlets, and all those kind of stuff that made the company's valuation grow significantly over the last 3 years.
That's incredible, Omri. I mean, even just hearing about the kind of funny and comical pivot that you did right at the beginning, right, to get to where you are today, and which is the media empire that you have built. But audience out there will love to hear about the early days, right? The struggles, the up and downs, right? Because it's always not always smooth sailing that you hear, when you're now featured, say, in Forbes magazine and then just overnight success. Can you kind of talk about that? What were some of the things that didn't go so well at the beginning?
So I think the biggest hurdle in the start was trying to, and I'm talking specifically about the time period between me going from the travel industry going into tech. So I came in with a lot of crazy ideas of how PR should be done. And a lot of very traditional folks, they would hate on that, right? Because the traditional PR folks were like, what is this new kid trying to think? He's bullshitting everyone. Like, what is he doing? And then, like, the in-house folks, like the CMOs, like the chief marketing officers that are working in those startups, that in the end they need to choose me to do the PR for them,
Right.
they were like super skeptical about the whole thing, right? So you're like, what are you doing? Are you doing advertising? Are you doing PR? Is it a combination? Like, what's going on? And that was kind of like emotionally draining, because I would come in, Alan, super fired up, right? Like, hey, we got to do this, we have the results, etc. And they would be like sitting there and kind of like trying to understand. And I was like, guys, but you guys are not getting any results. Why not try this out? 2 months, 3 months,
Mhm.
and it took some convincing. So that was definitely the most challenging part, which is market education. So the market education was really difficult in the start, but once we started to get results, it became much easier. But I would definitely say that that was the challenging thing. That was the big hurdle in the start.
Got it. No, that makes a lot of sense, right? Anytime you do something new in the market, people are not used to it, right? So they were challenged and they said, go back to tradition.
Exactly.
So as you now rapidly expanding in the US market, what differences do you see or challenges that you may face, do you think, between that and your European Asian market dominance that you have?
So I think USA has been more smooth sailing, because remember, even our European clients and our Asia clients, in the end, we do the PR in the United States. So our main activity is to do it in media outlets in the United States. And because we've built such a good connections and results in the US media, then it's easy to showcase it to USA folks, right? And USA based companies are really more open, I think, to try new things. With AI coming in, you see this. You have to, start. You work with American startups. Everyone wants to try the new thing, right? So it's
Yeah.
actually much easier to expand to the US than it was to build what we did in Asia, for example.
Okay, good to know. And then, Amr, it seems like you have a lot of investment in media outlets, right? What do you look for when you invest in these guys?
So we basically, it's not going to sound politically correct. Basically, I'm trying to invest in what seems to be a shitty operation that
Okay.
is not run right.
That's
That's
fair.
fair.
Yeah, yeah,
Free cash flow
yeah,
agency. Uh,
yeah,
no, I mean, in terms of, like, basically an operation that there's money coming in to the business, but they're kind of like breaking even, maybe, or even like just on the edge of profitability. And like, I can see from outside that there's so much things that could be done to basically create a better media operation and media business. So I would try to find something that is run or very traditionally or very inexperiencedly. You know what I mean? They're kind of like two contradictions, because the traditional ones will have lots of experience, and but
right.
I mean, but with no experience in like the modern way of doing media, right? So I would search for that, and then I would very aggressively try to get a majority stake. That's what we did with the start. And Alan, this is actually a nice story. The first media outlet bumped, so we bought our first media outlet, and nothing worked. We tried to bring in our strategies, the strategy that to hone that media outlet, etc., and it didn't work. And then I was like, maybe we shouldn't play that game, right? Maybe we should stick to PR only, right? But I just had this fire of like, no, we got to make it work. So we bought another one, and from the second one, things started working really well.
What was the difference between the first and second? I'm just curious.
Right, it's a great question. So the first, and I was hoping you would ask that. So The first one, we came in with lots of passion, but very very naive strategy. We thought we're just going to like aggressively push the media outlet out. We didn't take careful understanding of the ICP, of of like of understanding who the readers are really are, because I got a publication that I thought it was an entrepreneur based publication, and then what I wanted it to make it an entrepreneur tech publication. And the problem was that the people who were already consuming that content were like very old school entrepreneurs, or like brick and mortar shop entrepreneurs, right? And I couldn't make that adjustment. And then on the second time, we got in an entertainment media outlet, and I was like, I'm not gonna make this into an entertainment tech or like a music tech or whatever. It's going to be like this very cheesy celebrity entertainment outlet, but we're just gonna make it. We're gonna modernize it, right?
Right,
And that
right.
worked. So that's kind of like what we're doing. So instead of changing the actual content, we're changing the distribution of that content.
Yeah, it's really, really awesome that you're creating this vertical integration, right? Where you own the media outlet and the PR firm. So then for client, you're like, I have no issue getting you spots, right? Because I literally own the majority stake in all these media outlets, which is always amazing, right? That you can promise them that. And then another question I'm sure a lot of the tech startup folks that are watching this right now is saying like is how do I measure success with Omri, right? Like they go with like a traditional paid ad agency, they look at ROAS, right? Return on ad spend, and they can quickly tell is this working out? Or should I go with someone else? What is that metric or standard that they should really look at when they work with you and say this is a very successfully won PR campaign?
So I think there's two, and again, it's very different for every type of company, right? Every type of startup, every type of company, they're looking for something different. So one company would hire a PR agency because they want to raise more funds from VCs. One was going to hire a PR agency because they want to shoot out a certain narrative, right? A controversial narrative or whatnot. One just wants to get lots of awards, like the 5 leading tech, AI tools in 2025. So every company is different. Overall, there's probably two KPIs measurements that I would kind of talk about. One is like overall increase in brand mentions and traffic to
Mhm.
whatever you want to do, right? So it doesn't have to be traffic to your website. It could be traffic to a webinar, or traffic to a LinkedIn profile, or traffic to like another a specific case study page on the website, whatever it is, right? It's like whatever you determine. And then the second thing, I think it's overall brand recognition, which is more in the worlds of the feeling, right? It's your SDRs are going to prospect calls, right? Are the prospect calls becoming warmer, right? Because people, hey, yeah, I read about you. Hey, yeah, So basically that is, and then the third one, the third one is actually pretty important, is social engagement. So let's say, Alan, I get you on Forbes, right? It's not enough for you to be on Forbes. Like you need to take a screenshot of that article and put it on your LinkedIn or Twitter or X or right Instagram, whatever,
Yeah,
and then
of course.
that really makes a difference, because then you can see, wow, like I took the screenshot from my Forbes article, and now people are reaching out to me on LinkedIn, right? Because they saw so it's like a mix, but it's definitely overall brand awareness metrics, like I said before, traffic wise and brand mentions, etc. And then there's the feeling part, which is equally important.
Yeah, feeling is kind of to me like words on the street, right? A word in the street, what word of mouth effects. Like if people saying good things about me, are they name dropping me, right? And when I just go out maybe to a nightclub or something, it's like, oh, they're mentioning me. They must have seen me somewhere, right?
Exactly.
So that's always a really cool effect. And then, Omri, how do you kind of stay ahead of like the ever changing media landscape right now? I know you just briefly mentioned AI, right? How big of an impact is AI right now in your industry?
It completely transformed the whole industry. Like the whole industry has been transformed, mainly because content has not become a layer. What became an important layer is distribution, because now everyone can do content and can do content at scale. So now it's distributions. For example, Alan, you can write 15 articles about yourself through AI in like 5 seconds, right? You can tell ChatGPT or
Yeah,
or,
ChatGPT,
or
right?
any
Yeah,
one of those, kind of like Grok or Grok 4 or whatever. But
right.
in the end, you're going to need to distribute those articles, and you need to pay for it. And then that the distribution becomes the important part, which makes our work actually more significant. People used to say content is king. So distribution is king now with AI. So it transforms from like creator based to distribution based, and that is a very important thing. The other thing is that and it's going to answer your question, your previous question, is that you need to make time for play. So you need to make time, each evening or once every 2 days or once every 3 days, to just like chill, in your desk, in your office, put on some YouTube, put on, some nice music, light a candle, and
Yeah, sounds like fun time.
yeah, and just like scroll a bit, just look at what's going on, read about Sam Altman, read about Musk, look on Product Hunt, right? Search on producthunt.com, new products that are coming in, go on LinkedIn, and your mind will start to be creative. People are doing this in a different vertical. Maybe if we integrate this into media, what will happen, right? And just let your mind roam freely for a bit. And that's when the ideas come in, and you could be very creative with them. So a lot of people, they're too rigid, right? They're too rigid in their routines. Like, hey, I got to do my LinkedIn post today, etc., which is good. It's like the work ethic here is super important. I'm not neglecting that at all. It's super important, and consistency is important, but the world is changing so fast, and you need to understand what's going on, right? So you don't waste time writing 20 articles where you have an AI bot that can do that in 2 seconds. So definitely it's being creative. That's the best way to be on top of things, or to be ahead of things, and also giving yourself the time to actually search and just stumble upon some of these things.
That is such great advice. I feel like a lot of folks out there right now are still doing the same thing over and over again, right? They're not looking at the latest trends. They're just like, hey, I'm gonna post my 5 posts on my 5 social media accounts, and they're all gonna have the same structure, the same template. And the thing is, people have seen them before,
Right.
right? They've seen it, they're used to it, and they don't buy it anymore, right? I've seen those like LinkedIn posts where it's like always the same structure,
Right.
right? Every time you give a little like hook right at the beginning, and you got to click read more to read the rest. They're like, people have seen that, right? They know that the same act, they know you're just copy and pasting. So it's great that you're always like ahead of that trend for your client.
100%. I'll before your next question, I just want to add something. This will be the guys. This will be the most important tip for marketers who are listening, and even not for marketers, but people who want to market or do PR for themselves, for their brand. Listen to this, Alan. The best people to follow for marketing advice or PR tips or whatever are not marketers or PR people in your industry. It's actually celebrities or rock stars or artists. Basically, people that have something that they do, and then they naturally market it. Because think about it, Alan, they are the ones who don't have templates. It's unique. So like Oasis, right? Oasis, the rock band, they're reuniting. They're a PR machine, and people don't understand that. They're a marketing PR machine. They're a brand. And the way they do marketing is the same way I would advise other people to do marketing. So they would go and read like Alex Hormozzi or like Gary Vee and all those guys. No, leave that. Go search for people who don't work on templates, people who, you know, rock stars.
To summarize, you're saying don't look at other marketing firms and try to copy them. Look at like the biggest brands in the world, which are these celebrities, rock stars, right? And see how they do things. So because it's more organic, right? Because they're just kind of doing it from the heart, right? What they feel like
Exactly.
is going to resonate with the audience,
They
right?
don't even think they're doing marketing. They're just doing marketing. You understand?
Yeah, they're just like, I'm just connecting with my fans, and I think this is the best way, right? And it just feels very authentic because they're like, I haven't seen this before, right? I haven't seen maybe some celebrities I seen like only like one word sometimes, right? Like a
Right.
word and then a picture and then a billion likes, right? And you're like, wait, how is this
Yeah.
possible? If I write one word, I'll get like 0 likes, right? And then Omri, like I also know that from looking you up, you also invest in other kind of asset classes like startups and public traded companies. How do you do all that, right? Like, what is your investment philosophy, and how do you balance risks across the different asset classes that you invest in?
Company does three things. So the company does the PR, the company does the media asset buying and selling. Not really selling. We haven't sold any asset. Everyone we bought, we're still holding the asset, the equity. And the third thing is we do investing in private startups, which and publicly traded companies. We invest in 6 startups, and we invest in about 20 something publicly traded companies. We have a really good investing record, to be honest. Like we are operating kind of like an internal hedge fund, and this has been a real help and real business grow tool for us. My investing philosophy is very simple on in the publicly traded side. It's we're waiting for something to happen to a certain company. People are selling it. People are thinking the brand is or the company is going to face some trouble, and we buy in. So we did that with Nvidia when the Chinese AI competitor came in, and people thought that they're going to get their GPUs from China and not from Nvidia, right? So then Nvidia went to 112 The stock went to 112. Now it's 170. We bought in at 112, right? We did the same thing with Tesla. There was the Elon Musk and Trump fight. So they fought the first time, and Tesla went to like 240 or something. We bought in. Now Tesla is like 315. I need to check, right? So that's how we operate. That's how I've always operated in the investment world. Been doing this for probably a good six years, and we have hedge fund type numbers of success, of leading hedge funds, right? Because most hedge funds are not able to beat the S&P 500. So that's one thing. On the private startup thing, I don't know. I don't have a good thesis for that because our investments haven't been so good. Like, so publicly traded stocks, we really know what we're doing, and private equity, we need to improve because obviously we haven't invested in the right startups. you know,
So more of a gamble on that side. That's
yeah,
understandable. Yeah.
definitely.
Can you, Amr, can you walk us through one of your more successful investments? Like what made it work? What did you learn from it?
I think that you need to know what you're trying to get out of each investment beforehand, before you go in, and you need to control like your emotions. It's really all about mental toughness and emotional control. I'll give you a sample. So there's a stock called MicroStrategy, MSTR. It's basically like a Bitcoin bank, and they're now at like they're at 453, the stock, and we bought in when it was like 350, and because we had the conviction that this will go hopefully to 1,000,
Wow.
um, and it fell for a good 2 months. That investment fell to around 200 something. So for 2 months we had to hold, like, I basically had to hold my breath in a sense and be emotionally intact, knowing that eventually this will play out because I've done the analysis, I've done it personally, and now we're profiting out of it, right? We're still holding the stock, but let's see how it goes. But basically, what I'm saying is that the main thing here is the mental aspect. It's not about how smart you are. It's more of like an emotionally sound stoicism kind of play. And the more you have that in you, the more you're going to get more of it, because the more you kind of like expose yourself to this type of scenarios, the more kind of like thick skin you're going to be able to get, and then the better investments you're going to do, because it's very simple to know what to do. Tesla, buy when it's low, sell when it's high, right? But
Mhm.
the psychology here is what makes you actually do those things, and I feel like that is the most important thing.
Awesome. Amr, you sound like a super busy guy, right? How do you manage your time and attention across, OHM, your investment profile, your media ownership, while kind of spreading yourself too thin, right? Is work-life even balance even exists in your dictionary?
I'm obsessed with work, so I work all the time, or at least most of the day. But I work with sprint. Let me explain. So, Naval Ravikant. Have you heard about Naval Ravikant? He's the founder of AngelList, and he has a great following on Twitter. And he said, "Work like a lion, not like a cow." Right? What does he mean by that? Is I don't. So when I work, I work. When I work, I sprint. I have 2 hours of work, and I just work like a maniac. Like really, like it's like tick tick tick, several screens working, tick tick thinking. To-do lists, productivity, all those kind of stuff. Using AI all the time. My team, calling my team. It's very very intense, very intense. But when I don't work, I really try to chill and let the ideas and things, my mind kind of be creative. Because Alan, I'm in a position where my next leverage point are going to be with thinking about them, not necessarily doing more, hands-on stuff, right? And that changed because in the start, you need to work 16 hours a day. You need to be on the keyboard, working, hustling, doing all of that. And then once you have leverage, you start working smarter, right? Smarter and deeper. And that's where I am right now. I have a very structured work day. I wake up usually like, I don't know, 9 a.m. because I sleep. I'm a night owl. I eat my breakfast. I start working. So good 2 hours of work, like intense work. Then I would go to the gym to work out and kind of sweat things away. And then I would come back and do my meetings, client meetings and teammate meetings, right, and colleagues. And after I do that, I start doing the creative stuff, like which is marketing for our brand and like just doing lots of cool stuff. And then in the evening, I do stuff like this, which is like podcasts and like TV interviews and all those fun things, or like events, etc. And then at night, I spend it, just having fun, reading books, dancing, you know, meeting beautiful people, right? So doing all yeah, so doing all this kind of stuff to kind of chill, and then you come up next work and you work again, and I enjoy it. I enjoy this structure, and yeah, I see a lot of people, Alan, that they're claiming they work all day long, but they don't work. They don't move things. They just like answer emails or do some of this bullshit activities. No, everything I do has to move something to from one point to the other. It has to. If not, I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it.
Yeah, it sounds like you really found a recipe for your workday, but more importantly, you found a way to move the needle every time you work. I think
Exactly.
that's what you're talking about, right? And it sounds like to make that happen, you probably built a powerful team that's backing you, taking away all the admin things, all the things that's all distractions, like you're talking about, all the emails and things that usually get in the way of an entrepreneur, right? Like a solo entrepreneur, he's wearing 10, 15 hats, right? He's the marketing guy, he's the customer service guy, he's the guy designing the website, right? But you seem like you have taken away all that distraction and says, here you go, here's an expert here in all these teams and make it happen. Like for those folks out there who's still doing what you just described, like 24/7 work, how do they get away from that, right? How do they build what you have, which is I have built an amazing team, they're doing all that, and I'm just a needle mover as a CEO should.
So first of all, I'm a huge fan of huge profits. So first of all, before you do that, you need to make sure you're getting good money, right? So hustle until like do everything yourself until you reach millionaire status and you have more than $1 million. Then start bringing in more people. First of all, you want to know that you know everything in your business and that you can train people, right? After that, and that's if you're bootstrapped. If you're venture backed, it's a whole different story, right? You can hire right away, right? So it's completely different. Then start off having first hires as virtual assistants, which is they're cheaper, easier to manage, easier to set expectations, etc. And you teach them everything. You make a Loom video, a Zoom video, whatever you want to do, and you teach them step by step how to do it. And then you start delegating. And then once you do that, you bring in a C-level executive who is in charge of those VAs. And then every business takes their own kind of method and work ethic. We are more focused on results and specific revenue numbers. So I like everyone on our team, we work like a Formula One race team, which everyone does something very specific. So I don't have someone who also writes and also pitches. I have only someone who writes and someone who only pitches and someone who only does analytics, etc. So there's no context switching. But yeah, that just worked for us. But every company is really different in that manner. It also has to be a lot of if you're the CEO, it has to be a lot from your personality. So I'm like a very high aggressive, some would say, entrepreneur. I try to make deals. I try to, get in there. I try to do things that are a bit more controversial, steer the pot, so to speak. Some entrepreneurs are more laid back, so a different strategy of like a team would work for them, right? I have an army, so my team members are boxers. They're army fighters. They work on sprints. They're like so, but everyone's different. Some people would. I had employees that couldn't work with us because they didn't enjoy working with me, right? And I didn't enjoy working with them because the personalities were super different. But yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
No, that's amazing, right? Obviously, you're building a team that fits around your philosophy and the speed that you want to operate on, right? So it's a very well-oiled machine at this point. So, Omri, like you obviously have a lot of success at this point, right? And then how do you kind of want to define success for yourself, for your business, and personally for the next kind of 3 to 5 years, looking ahead?
I think the most important thing is enjoy. It's such a cliche. Everyone's saying this. I can't believe it. But it's a big cliche, but it's actually true. Like you need to enjoy what you're doing. So this first of all, the success for me is to enjoy what I'm doing. So to actually enjoy the day-to-day activities of the thing, because you get only one life as far as we know, right? And you got to enjoy the minutes. Time is the real currency, right? So that's the first one. The second thing, I think it's to keep on being creative. So not to be rigid, be creative with what we do and take this media company to the best place the media company can go and should go, right? And then there's obviously some concrete revenue numbers that I'm really excited, to pass, right? I think this company could become a company. I think this brand could become, a 200, $300 million brand. So I think that's where we want to take this in the next 5 years. That would be an ambitious, but could be a realistic target as well. and it'll take lots of effort, and it'll take more creativity than effort, because remember, the leverage points are the important things. I'll give you an example, Alan. I think it's valuable for your audience. When our PR agency started growing, if I didn't go and invest in media outlets and just did the PR thing, yeah, we would grow, but it wouldn't be like the company's valuation wouldn't be even half than what it is now. But because I was creative and outside of the box, then same thing with investing, right? So like, it's not only about working hard. You need to have leverage. You need to build leverage and to kind of like outsmart your way around the competition.
Got it. No, that's great. And you set yourself a smart goal. You have a defined number of years, and where you want to take your company to it. So I'm sure you'll see that success very soon. I want to ask one fun question here before we move on to the financial aspect of your business. So say you had a chance, Omri, to meet Warren Buffett, right? He's most sought after business mind in the world, we would say, right? And then usually, I know people have to pay millions of dollars to even have a dinner with him, right? But hey, you got a free ticket, like a Willy Wonka style. You got to meet him. What would you pitch him? Like, would you pitch him an idea? What is there questions you want to ask him? Is there something you have like an hour with him that you want to present to him, or have him give you advice on that you feel will be most valuable and take you to that next level?
Can I choose a different famous?
Yeah, if you have someone that's like in that
Right.
in that level in mind that you always want to meet, yeah, go for it.
So Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison
Okay,
is the founder of Oracle.
Yes.
He's actually richer than Warren Buffett, net worth wise, I think.
I think he's
like,
number two now. I just read an
oh,
article
Larry
that
Ellison
he's
is number two.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I
because
just read
Oracle's
it down.
stock went up. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Larry Ellison. Why Larry Ellison? Warren Buffett, I feel like I would be bored talking to him, to be honest.
Okay.
Because he's like, Larry Ellison is a cool guy. He's a cool motherfucker. He's like someone I would like to talk to. And what I would ask him is, how did he manage to build such an empire and those big, massive leverage points while also living a very extravagant lifestyle? It's not only about the net worth, it's about experience worth, right? Like, okay, Warren Buffett has a high net worth, but like, he eats McDonald's every day, and it's like he lives in the same village, in like the same country, the same kind of town. So it's cool. I respect that, but it's not my personality. I like it.
Mhm.
I like it to be more like rock star kind of thing, right? So Larry Ellison, that's what I would ask him. I would ask him, like, how do you keep both the discipline of the focus and the rock star lifestyle, and how you combine both of them, and what are some concrete productivity or structure tips that you can offer?
That's awesome. I liked it how you know exactly who you want to model yourself after.
Yeah,
So you like changed the prompt and said, "No, this is the guy. This is my man." I was like, "That's
this is
amazing."
the guy. Yeah.
Cool. So, Omri, a part of what we do at Profit Powerhouse is we like to dig into some of the financial management and tax aspect of the business, right? Because our audience want to know that. It's like, it's not the most exciting, but it's important for long-term health of the business, right? So, how do you approach managing the financial side of your business?
We have a great accounting team that they do everything. They operate everything. You need to be hands-on, because I'm an obsessive guy. So I always kind of look at the numbers and see and give my idea. I'm not hands-off, because I'm very hands-on, because I understand numbers as well. And I gave them lots of tips that they didn't think about. But yeah, it's a mix of delegating to them, but also being hands-on, looking at the numbers, thinking outside of the box again, how we can do things better, and also using AI, like putting out your tax reports on to ChatGPT and tell him, like, how would you improve them, like what would you do, where would you invest more, where would you add more, those kind of stuff. And yeah, that's basically the process that I go through.
Oh, that's amazing how hands-on you are. What is there any financial metrics that you look very closely at, right? When you guys do, how frequently you guys do your bookkeeping on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis? Is there ones you obsess over as part of your business?
So monthly, I obsess over. Listen to this.
Yeah.
I obsess over, and this is the truth, and I don't think a lot of people would say this, and you might find it funny. The most important metric for me is I obsess over my personal net worth month after month.
Okay.
So the company is called Hurwitz Media. I own 100% of the company. The whole point of owning 100% of the company, which is more difficult than owning like other like 50, because you have a partner and he comes in, and sometimes it's more difficult because you have a shitty partner. But the whole
Yeah,
purpose
it's
of
true.
this, the company needs to help me. Like, that's the point. The company works for me. I'm the CEO of the company, but the company works for me. So every month, every end of the month, I track my net worth. My personal assets, how much the company is valued, how much profit the company did each and every month, how are my investments doing, right? What are the numbers? And then I calculate it and put it on. I have I document it every single month, and I see how much I grew each and single month, because everything else is, like, to be honest with you, is like secondary to that. Like, if even if the company was like super profitable that month, but I made a bad investment, then I wiped out that profit, right? Even if the company was profitable but could have been more profitable, but I made a huge investment, it's like three profitable months, right? So that's how I look at it. I look at it very selfishly, and very practically and pragmatically.
Interesting, but I think the ultimate goal is reach, right? Because like if you're doing well, I mean the company must be doing well in itself. So that makes sense.
Right.
And then, Omri, what advice would you give to other business owners when it comes to managing their finances effectively, right? A lot of them are still very hands-on, but is there a certain, revenue threshold, transactional threshold, or point in their business life where you're like, it's time to kind of hand it over, right?
It depends on the IQ of the individual, right? How much he can carry on his own shoulders. But
Right.
if the company is profitable, you should have a team. You should have like an outsourced team, at least, of accountants who run through your CPA, whatever, who's in charge of your thing. If it's profitable, that's what needs to happen, right? Even if it's like you're profitable by $100 each month, right? I don't know. It's like you have to, it's a very complicated subject, and you need strong professionals.
Yeah, yeah, right. Sometimes it's good not to have to do everything yourself and not to think about all the numbers when you should be focused on what you're doing, which is the creative outlet of your business, right? Being able to
Exactly.
do that and take your company to the next level. So cool. Yeah. So Omri, what's next for you and your business? Any exciting plans or projects in the rest of the year?
We're getting really deep into the GEO, generative engine optimization space, which is basically optimizing search engines, LLM search engines, for brand mentions for our clients. That's a big part of what we're doing right now. We have lots of methods and strategies to do so, and it's working really well. Even like
Awesome.
if you search on like Perplexity, who is like the leading generative engine optimization media firm, it should say us, because that's what we see. So basically, that's a big part of what we're planning to do. And yeah, more investments, more cool stuff, and let's see what happens.
I've heard that's the next evolution, right? Away from SEO, right? It's all about what these generative AI are prompting and displaying now as the top firm, right? The top PR firm.
100%.
So we have reached what we call the final advice, Omri. If you could give one piece of advice to someone just starting the entrepreneurial journey, right, who haven't been able to get off the couch, right, because they're afraid, they're worried, right, what would that be? It could be one, two, or three simple steps to get them going and really motivate them to take the next step to be an entrepreneur.
Buy a notebook, blank notebook. Start off every single day with writing exactly the tasks you're supposed to do today, to be 1% better, to move the business by 1%. And every day, fill out one page of that notebook every day. And then don't think about everything, don't think about anything. The score will take care of itself. Just focus on doing those activities. Don't think about profits, don't think about revenue. Just think about those specific tasks. Doing a LinkedIn post, doing LinkedIn outreach, emailing a prospect, going to an event. Just do that. Fill in a whole notebook, right? And no strategy, just tactics, and see how the momentum starts building into for you, and then everything comes to you.
That's sage advice right there, right? It's like I think a lot of people out there, what they're afraid of is just, oh man, there's so much to do, right? How can I do this? How can I be an army and be like a cheetah, right? Like 100% place once. But you're saying stop doing that. Look
Don't
at it
think
one
about
step at
that.
a time, 1% at a time, and that's how you really can move forward, right? One feet in front of the other, right? Stop thinking about
Domino
running
effect.
first. Yeah,
Domino
stop thinking
effect,
about running.
baby. Domino
Incredible,
effect.
incredible. Ami, this has been such an insightful and powerful episode. I'm sure a lot of our folks got tons of advice from this, and probably really wanted to reach out to you. And that's kind of what I want to talk about in this last part. There's a really cool promotion that Ami want to give away on the show. Ami, you want to introduce that?
Yeah, sure. So everyone who listens to this and reaches out and says that you listen to this will get 10% off on the retainer for our PR services, for
That is
every
super.
retainer.
That is
Yeah.
super generous, and I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of reach out, and we'll make sure to put that in the show notes below. Ami, it's
Amazing.
been wonderful having you on the show. I can't wait to see the direction of AI and PR in the next year. Right? We'd love to have you back on the show if you would like to give us that update a year later. How's that sound?
Sounds amazing, man.
All right. Thank you so much, Omri. Audience, hope you learn a lot. If you want to reach out, we'll make sure to put all the notes, all the socials in the show note below. Omri, thank you so much for being on here.
Alan, you've been wonderful, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, guys. Peace out.
Peace out.